Hey everybody, welcome to another replay in the Grimyashi, the Tier 5 Soviet Premium Destroyer on the Fault Line map. And we've ended up in what looks to be a Tier 6 match. In fact, it is. Mostly Tier 5s in this one, so we shouldn't have too hard of a time. 2 battleships per team, 2 carriers per team, and a lot of cruisers. We get an extra destroyer, the enemy get an extra cruiser. I can certainly live with that. Decide to admire my ship while I'm on the way to Objective C. C is usually a good place for destroyers to head to, especially early in the game. The east-west channel that runs between the islands gives you a good ambush position and also a good bailout route if you need to get out of there in a hurry, because a lot of the less agile ships will have difficulty turning and chasing you down there. One of our other destroyers is already almost there, so by the time I get to Objective C we'll probably already own it, and he may well be engaged with the enemy. It remains to be seen. Now, interestingly enough, and you may have noticed it in some of my other replays, the details on the ships load in progressively over the course of about a minute or so after the start of a match. First you get the basic shape of the ship, then you get things like anti-aircraft guns and life preservers and things like that, and then I think one of the last things that usually loads in is the actual ship's flag. So it's interesting to see that it takes quite a while for it to pop in. But once the ship is fully loaded, it looks quite nice and it's very detailed. I've heard rumours that these aren't even the most detailed versions of the models and that they'll be better in the final game, but I can't substantiate those at all, obviously. So they are just rumours, as far as I'm aware. So our destroyer, the Isakaze, has already run into the enemy forces in C. They've got a destroyer there and a couple cruisers probably pushing on him as well. Sure enough, an enemy Mutsuki is in the cap with cruiser backup on the way, and I'm sorry about the stopping and starting. I was experiencing some pretty serious packet loss when I recorded this. When I played this match, and the stuttering of packet loss seems to carry across into replays. Now, since the enemy Mutsuki is in point C, although Isakaze is in there as well, he isn't actually accruing cap points. It freezes the cap while there's 2 ships in there from opposing teams. And it looks like our Isakaze might be in trouble. The Mutsuki is a tier 6, he is a tier 4. I make best speed through the channel, hoping to get the drop on the Mutsuki while he's distracted, and hoping that the supporting cruisers don't put a spread of torpedoes down this channel or blow the crap out of me with their guns. You can also see me microing my AA. I had it turned off until I knew I was spotted by aircraft, at which point there's no point leaving it off and I can turn it back on. Now, before I can get a clear shot at the Mutsuki, the Omaha crosses my shot and immediately gets Citadel hit. You can see where I'm hitting, just above the waterline, beneath the funnels. That is where you want to hit an Omaha at this range. It's just going straight through into his engines. So he's stunned, obviously. He's barely reacting to the fact he's being shot at. In fact, it looks like he's stopped and started reversing. I don't know why. I fire off some torpedoes just to send something his way while I shift my focus to the Mutsuki, primarily because I'm more worried about getting torpedoed by the Mutsuki, although the Phoenix, that is a Phoenix from Omaha, although he does have torpedoes of his own, I'm not too worried about him at the moment. Thankfully the Mutsuki appears to be on reload, and he's dealt with handily.
We've sunk an enemy destroyer.
Now, the Phoenix and Omaha are very easy to mistake for each other. They look identical almost. They play almost identically. Really, there's not much to separate them. Just one's a tier 4 and one's a tier 5. And so you're probably going to come across me mistaking them for each other very, very often. With one of the 2 enemy cruisers here dealt with, I start putting shells into this guy as well. And managed to finish him off.
Enemy cruiser destroyed.
Unfortunately for our battleship, he's getting the crap torped out of him. In fact, no, that's not the guy who rage quit. One of our battleships did rage quit this match, apparently. Not sure why, not sure what provoked him to do it. Maybe he got hit by a couple of well-aimed salvos and thought that somebody was using the aim mod. I don't know. But in any case, it's not my problem. I'm just here to make sure I carry my team as hard as I possibly can. Now, one thing you may have noticed is that the anti-aircraft and secondary guns are now actually animated. So the 2 76mm anti-aircraft gun turrets on the rear top superstructure of my destroyer are actually turned to face the direction that they were last pointing when they were shooting at something. It's a minor detail, but it's quite a nice one. The tracers still just come out of the center of the ship, more or less, so they don't actually come out of the guns themselves, but maybe one day. It is still early days yet, so we'll see what happens. Omaha in the middle of the map, I begin firing at him, and actually I'm just going to check really quickly. Yeah, one of those ships was a Phoenix and one was an Omaha. I think the first one I was shooting at was the Omaha, and then the Phoenix was the one I sunk second. Like I said, they're nearly identical, so it's very hard to tell them apart, and on the fly, yeah. It also doesn't help that I'm trying to pay more attention to what's actually going on than which ship I'm shooting at, even though I've got the Alt key pressed so you can see the name of it there. And I feel like a complete idiot now. But oh well, reading is really difficult, apparently. This Omaha loses his engines, and he's got torp bombs coming straight for him. He's pretty much done, no matter what. Torpedoes in the water. I get some shots in too, and he gets finished off by one of our cruisers, a Cleveland. And here comes the enemy Fuso. Put out a pair of torpedo spreads, but of course he was actually paying attention, unlike most battleship players, and realised I was dropping torps and began a turn immediately. So by the time I fired, he's already evading. As you can see on the minimap there, he's turning to his left. One of the carriers is spotted way up in the northwest, but this guy is much, much closer, so I'm going to deal with him. Check back to see if I get any hits on the Fuso. Obviously not, he's evading pretty hard. And so instead I just start throwing shells at him to try and get some more hits in while I can. And here comes the last desperate defense of a cornered aircraft carrier. 2 squadrons of torpedo bombers appear right on top of me. How they got that close without being spotted, I'm not entirely sure, possibly as a result of my own smoke or something. Either way, I take a big hit there.
Hull breach, we're taking on water quickly.
But his second spread isn't close enough to finish me.